if I'm in Jamaica and somebody's in Florida, somebody's in New York, somebody's in Georgia, somebody's over in Colorado, the software on my computer is not going to be able to help them. That's what the catalyst where I said, you know what, I need to start thinking about something cloud-based that we can all log into wherever we are as long as we have internet.
Welcome to Deduct This, powered by ProConnect Tax. This is where tax professionals come together to share ideas, experiences, and fresh perspectives to help you grow your practice and your future. We're glad you're here. Let's get started.
Hi, and welcome back to another episode of Deduct This with Carrie and Lexi. I'm Carrie.
And I'm Lexi. Today's episode is all about the beauty of the cloud and taking your firm exactly where you need it to go.
I am so excited. Today we have Randy Hughes, the CEO of Counting Pennies LLC. He has a thriving practice from Jamaica. I love Jamaica. So this is amazing. We're so excited. Welcome to our show, Randy.
Hey, it is fantastic to be here, ladies. Thank you very much for having me. And it is nice to be aboard from Jamaica, man.
Oh my gosh, I love it. So Randy, let's start with your journey. What inspired you to even move your practice to Jamaica?
You know, flexibility, just to be straightforward, it was flexibility. So my wife and I, we love travel. And we also do volunteer work. And ironically, what ended up landing us in Jamaica was we were doing a volunteer assignment, and it was supposed to be a year. So we came down here to try to assist with that. But of course, you know, I'm working and supporting the family and trying to make sure that, you know, things continue to go the way that they're supposed to go. And at the conclusion of that year, that volunteer work that we were doing, there was an opportunity for it to extend. And we were like, hey, work is working out. Well, I'm still able to work from here. There's an opportunity to stay. Let's go on ahead and take advantage of it. And,
Wow.
You know, guys, we looked up and, you know, this September, we will have been here 9 years.
Wow.
9 years.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
That goes fast.
That goes fast. Yeah, it goes by really, really quickly. But the flexibility, but being able to do that, being able to take care of some things in the area where I need to be in person, but still be able to work is golden. It's priceless for me.
Oh, I love it. So let's dive into some like nuances of this, right? So I actually work remote. I've been remote for, 17 years. There's where the time keeps going, right? And it can be very daunting, right? A lot of people experienced it through COVID, but doing it for 9 years, you've been doing this longer than a lot of people experienced for COVID, and you're literally in a different country from most of your clients. And that can be daunting, having that like completely remoteness from everybody else. What are some of the key considerations that you think that someone should kind of think through if they were evaluating taking their firm remote?
You know, I would say that there's three things that you probably need to take a close look at. Number one is technology. Based on what you do, is the technology there to support it in a remote environment? And, you know, I mean, come on, technology has been like off the charts, right? For the last several years. And maybe, to be honest, depending on how technical you want to get, for the last few decades, technology has just been crazy. So when we take a look at what we do, is there a path that allows us to be able to do it? That's extremely important. Now, if the answer to that is yes, then the next thing for me that I think is discipline. How disciplined am I going to be in a remote environment? Because the reality is, you know, some of us like to sleep in, some of us like to leave early, and that's a lot easier to do when you're remote and nobody's kind of standing over you, especially if you're your own boss. So discipline, I think, is a very, very important factor. But then not to be overlooked, data security. Right. So especially if you're in an environment where you're dealing with other people's data, you're dealing with other people's records, does the remote environment allow for you to still keep their information safe? I think that those are the key areas when someone's trying to consider whether they want to go remote or not.
Yeah, that's great points. And, you know, we all know too that there's the opposite side too, remote. You could not turn it off, right?
That's right.
Like there's not, you know, you look up and it's 8 o'clock. And you've been working, you know, a 16-hour day. But okay, so I want to dive into something you said that was great. And you were talking about being there for your clients. You've got a time change. You've got to make sure that they feel confident that nothing changes business as usual with you being out of the country. How have you maintained that trust and the engagement with your clients and bringing new clients on. Can you talk a little bit about that while you've been abroad?
Yeah. So for me, transparency is very important without necessarily oversharing. And what I mean by that is this. So let's say that I have a new client that I'm meeting for the first time, and they want to know who you are, right? They've heard about you. Maybe somebody's referred them. Maybe they found you through an advertisement, but now you're having that initial meeting and they're like, hey, I want to get to know you a little bit better, because I'm thinking about, I mean, from their perspective, think about it. Now I'm in taxes, right? I do taxes and accounting. So from their perspective, if this relationship kind of kicks off, they're going to be sending me social security information. They're going to be sending me addresses. They're going to be sending me their things about their family. They're going to be sending me income. You got to know that you can trust the person that you're talking to, and you got to know and have confidence that they can keep it safe. So I don't want a situation where I'm going along and I'm not saying anything, and then 2 months down the road, they find out I'm in Jamaica, and then they feel like they were blindsided. So that's why I feel like transparency, especially right out of the gate, is important. So when I'm in an initial meeting with someone, I let them know, where are you located? Oh, okay, that's nice. You know what? I'm in Jamaica. And it just so happens that in our story, we have residency not only here in Jamaica, but we also have a spot in the States, and we go back and forth throughout the year. So I just mentioned that. I say, you know what? We're down here in Jamaica. We're doing some volunteer work. And I said, and we happen to be here right now. But you know what? During the year, you might catch me in Georgia. You might catch me in Florida. You might catch me in DC, or you might catch me when I'm here in Jamaica. And that just alleviates it. Now they know they can ask questions if they want. But then once we have that conversation, I'm not constantly bringing it up. If they want to talk about it, fine. But, I'm going to be honest with you. We've been doing this now, and we've been working remote now for probably close to the same amount of time as you, Carrie. But we've been doing it abroad for the last 9 years. And I found that transparency without oversharing has worked very, very well. I haven't had any issues with anybody so far to date.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's great.
It's so interesting. And it is true. I had that same experience for years and years and years, being remote way before people were remote. People would be like, hey, can you meet me for coffee? Thinking I'm down the street or in the building next door to them on the campus. And I'm like, I live in a different state, but people would never realize that. And so to me, that's also about the art of the relationship, right? Is if you can create that bond with somebody, it really doesn't matter where you are. And then also technology is going to play a huge role in that. And you touched on that a little bit, but let's talk about kind of the role of I guess it's really cloud-based tools, if you will. And how have you found those tools and brought those on to think about what is that role from being able to actually run your practice?
The tools are important, right? So when I'm taking a look at a tool, I'm taking a look at, is it going to allow me to be able to do what I do, obviously from my location, but then also aside from just the location, I do some other travel. So is it going to be able to keep up with me as I'm moving throughout the country when I'm in the country? That's number one. Number two, is it going to be able to be something that my team members can use? Because I'm not the only one working in the firm. I have team members. In fact, that's what ultimately got me over to cloud-based, to be quite honest with you, because, this business, I've had the business now for about 23, 24 years. And initially when it started off, I was the man. I was doing everything, right? So I'm doing the tax returns. I'm doing the bookkeeping. I'm doing all of those things. And it got to a point where I couldn't handle it myself. When that happened, when I came to the realization, you know what, I'm going to have to, and as business owners, we tend to be very possessive, right, about our stuff. It's because it's a personal thing. But I got to the point where I was like, I can't go into another season without sharing and offloading some of this work. Now think about it. I'm in Jamaica. Where am I going to find that help? The help's going to be in the States, because that's where the people who know how to do U.S. taxes and they know how to do this, that, and the other. Right. So I couldn't, back at that time, I was using desktop software. If I'm in Jamaica and somebody's in Florida, somebody's in New York, somebody's in Georgia, somebody's over in Colorado, the software on my computer is not going to be able to help them. Right. So that's what the catalyst where I said, you know what, I need to start thinking about something cloud-based that we can all log into wherever we are as long as we have internet. I have to make sure that they understand the culture of, privacy and things of that nature. That was a given. But I need something where they can log in and they can be able to do the work, and we can do it in real time, even if needed. Yep. And that's what started my journey with some of the cloud-based softwares that I'm using now. that's the catalyst that ended up moving me over. Because I'm going to be honest with you ladies, the software that I had prior, the software is incredible. It was a rock solid software, and I had been with them for over 15 years. So I was very familiar with it. But here's the thing. When I realized they didn't have a cloud-based option, I had to make a different decision.
Right.
And I ended up going to, a company that was known for being cloud-based, and that's what ended up moving me into the direction where I am now.
I love that. And you're exactly right. And your change, and that's great for people to hear, is like what you started out with and your needs as your firm grows into the firm that you want it to be. Those needs change just like anything else. And so you go and I love that you said you knew it was the right time. It was something that worked for everyone in your firm. Okay. I want to talk about names. I want to talk about what software you're using. And Randy, we have spoken to you on different, AI webinars. You are a tech forward guy. Obviously, we know that about you. Talk to us a little bit about, and you feel free to even talk about the softwares and the different tools you use to help your peers with what helps you with your productivity.
So as it relates to tax software, I'm an Intuit guy. So Intuit ProConnect, that's what I use for my cloud-based software. It allows my team members to come in as needed. And, there's some other things that are just really, really nice about the Intuit suite of products, because let's say that I'm also doing the bookkeeping or the CFO advisory work for that particular client or that particular business. We're handling their books in QuickBooks Online. That information, migrates very seamlessly over to ProConnect. ProConnect is the name of the tax software. Very, very nice process. And then once it's there, now I can migrate it over to ProAdvisor, which is our tax planning software. So you're taking the data and you're doing planning for that particular client using their real data. So it's not just theories. Hey, I got a great idea for you. We're using their actual real-time data and then generating tax plans for them, which would not be able to happen if we weren't in a cloud-based system, because remember, there's inputs coming in from all the team members. So I absolutely love that. But then on the other side, you talked about AI and you talked about tech and moving forward. AI. Yeah. AI we've been hearing about it, right? Some of us have been hearing about it for months. Some of us have been hearing about it for years. And the interesting thing about AI is, and especially for those business owners that have, successful firms, you've had a successful firm, you've been doing it a certain way, you're having wins, right? You're having your wins doing it the way you're doing it. And now you start hearing this rumbling about AI and it's like, I don't need that. I'm already successful. I'm already doing what I'm doing. But then you keep hearing about it. Then you keep hearing about it. Then you keep hearing about it. And I'm here to tell you, for anybody who's listening, even if you have a successful firm, AI can literally change and accelerate the things that if you're doing good now, it can accelerate the things that you're doing because it just helps with so many areas. In our firm, we lean heavily on ChatGPT, but we use some other AI platforms. But it just really enhances what we were already doing at a very high level. Absolutely.
Can you give an example, Randy? Give us an example, because I think there's this fear that comes around with even the phrase AI, like there is. So give an example that your peers can actually see how you're using it.
Yeah. So we'll come up with a couple of examples. So let's just start with email communication with the client. So again, I'm in the tax area, but this can apply to any industry. So you've worked on an engagement for somebody. The engagement is done. You've provided the service. And then what happens is a couple days, a couple weeks, a couple months later, what happens? You get an email inquiry from that client. And it's what they feel is a simple question. But you as the professional know it's a simple question, but the answer is a little bit more complicated than that, right? And if this is not somebody who is a regular in your pipeline where you're constantly thinking about that engagement, depending on the question, which by the way, they've already paid for and has already been completed. So now they're sending you a message and they send you this question and you're looking at it and you're saying, I can get you the answer, but I got to look at this. I got to research that. I got to do this. I got to do that. And you're thinking about all the time it's going to take you to be able to answer that. And then what do we do as business owners? if we have a good relationship with them, if we don't want to lose their business the following year or the next time it's time to do whatever it is we've done with them, then we go on ahead and we do it. But how much time does that take? So coming back to your question, how does AI help? You can take that question, you can pop it into something like ChatGPT, and it's going to give you an answer almost instantaneously. So helping out with client communications. Now, you're still a professional. You still have to take a look at that response and make sure that it's sound, that it's accurate, that it matches their specific situation. But the number of emails that it helps us to generate, let's talk about marketing. For those of your listeners that are out there doing marketing, it can help. We asked our marketing department recently, how has AI helped you? And one of the responses was an 8-hour project now takes us between an hour and a half to 4 hours.
It's true. Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
It's
just game changing. It is. It's just absolutely incredible. So those are the little things. What I would suggest, if it's okay to mention this, what I would suggest is if somebody is thinking about, okay, this sounds intriguing, but I don't know. Like I said, I've already been successful. Start simple. Start with something very, very simple. See the results that you get. And then once you see how it can work for you, then go from there and then go from there. And here's a simple one that I use. And I don't know if maybe you all are doing it yourselves. I like to do it with terms and conditions. If somebody's trying to get me to sign up for a service on my personal life, and they say, oh, okay, just agree to our terms and conditions. And, you know, that's 100%. The one where they say, hey, you know what, if you cancel, we're going to take your house and your car and your dog too. You know, those terms and conditions.
Yeah.
Copy and paste those terms and conditions, throw it in the ChatGPT. And what I usually say is, tell me the things that I need to know to make a decision on this. And it'll come out and give me 5, 6, 7, maybe 10 things. Be aware of this, be aware of this, you got to give 30-day notice if you cancel. All of these things. And it's like, now I can make a better decision because now I know what this is really saying. I love it.
Great
I love
advice.
It.
Awesome.
Lexi and I are obsessed with AI and we try and do everything. And so I love when you can give practical examples because the more and more we talk to people, the more people don't even know where to start. I'm always like, start simple. Make a grocery list. Look at the refrigerator, see what's in there. Do an invitation for your child's birthday party. I mean, there's so many little things.
Absolutely.
And, you know, again, it's all about technology. And I want to kind of go back again, right? So you're a tax and accounting professional. You're managing this business from remote. And you have your peers are in the United States. How do you think about like workflow? So like if you're in ProConnect Tax, and do you guys assign different parts of the tax return to different people? Do you look at it? Does someone input the thing and then you review it? Or how does that work back and forth? You know, because obviously you have remote software, so you can both log in. But tell me a little bit more about that.
That's an excellent question. And so, yes, so years ago, I used to be the one preparing the returns, but now we're at a situation where I'm the one that's reviewing it. So I'm the last set of eyes before it goes out the door. So we'll have somebody who does what we call data entry or input work, right? So they're going to put in the demographic information. And so they go into, let's talk about ProConnect. They go into ProConnect. They're going to set up the return. They're going to put the person's name. They're going to put their demographic information. If they have dependents, they're going to put that information in. Then it goes to a preparer. The preparer is the one who's supposed to be taking a look at, okay, what happened? Because, you know, if we're doing taxes, we're reporting on activity that's already happened. So where's the W-2? Where's the K-1? Where's the profit and loss? Where are all of the documents that we need to prepare the return? That's the preparer's responsibility. So they're going in and they're taking care of all of that. And then, you know, and there's some checks that we give the preparer to be able to take a look at. But once the preparer gets to the point where they feel like it's done, and now maybe they've gone to the client via email and said, hey, got a couple questions for you. As I was working on your return, can you answer this question, X, Y, Z, this, you know, that type of thing. Once the preparer feels like they've gotten it to the point where they're like, yeah, I think I got myself a return that reflects what happened for the taxpayer. Then it comes to me. And what I'm doing is I'm going in there and I'm taking a look at some higher level stuff based on experience. So I'm comparing it to the previous year's return. I'm taking a look to see if there were carryover losses that were captured, especially if it's a new client, because sometimes, you know, when you change, I know this isn't a tax podcast, but I will say this. If you're changing from prepare to prepare, one of the biggest mistakes we see is new preparers forgetting to do carryover losses for their clients, and the clients don't know because you don't find out till years later. billions of dollars in tax breaks are lost by taxpayers just with that one thing. So I'm taking a look at the carryover losses. I'm taking a look to see if there's anything else that we need to capture on the return that maybe the preparer who's just looking at the documents isn't going to be able to catch. Now we're able to do that workflow and then deliver a return that is very, very accurate, highly accurate. And the reason we're able to do that is because we have a cloud-based software that's allowing the data entry person to log in and then the preparer to log in and now me to log in and I can do my comprehensive review. Mm-hmm. All of us are able to do that working on the same particular platform. And I'm going to tell you this. It's true. People were doing something similar to this before the introduction of cloud-based, because that could be the argument. Well, you know what? I mean, we were doing this before cloud, but we're doing this now and we're not using cloud. But here's the situation with that. And I know because when I started my firm, this is how we were doing it. Mm-hmm. What you have to do is if you're going to have a situation where you have individuals and they're not all in the same office, then you have to have somebody work on it. Then they have to save that file. Then they have to upload it somewhere. Mm-hmm. Then that person has to download it into their system. Then they have to work on it. But you know, when you start uploading and downloading multiple files, you know what happens?
Oh, yeah.
Things get overwritten. Things get missed. Yeah. Changes are, absolutely, you know, and it could be catastrophic. But cloud-based eliminates all of that because you're able to go in there and it updates real time.
That is such a great example, and it's true. It takes out a lot of those manual or those human errors. Okay, so we hear from peers and other pros that the reason they haven't switched to cloud is there's a little bit of a fear because of the security and that it's the word even cloud, right? It's a little bit scary. You kind of lose control, but that's actually the opposite. And so talk a little bit about knowing how security and confidentiality are so important, if not the most important. You're exchanging so much, you know, of your client's information. What are the best practices and why are you so confident that it is secure and that the best standards are upheld for your clients?
That is an outstanding question. And I'll start by saying this. The fact that there are individuals that are concerned about that, and maybe that's one of the reasons why they haven't yet made the jump. I want to applaud all the people who are listening that have felt that way, because what that tells me is that you take it seriously. Yep. You take it seriously and you understand that it is an important issue, and it is, and it should be. That being said, one of the reasons like professionals like myself and others have gone on ahead and adopted it is because when we researched it ourselves, and we take a look at, so in my profession, I'm looking at the IRS, but if you're a doctor, for example, you know, you're taking a look at maybe HIPAA requirements or whatever is in the medical field. If you're a lawyer, you're looking at whatever they tell you for lawyers, right? Everybody has their thing. When I take a look at what the IRS tells me I have to do in order to uphold my responsibility as a certified public accountant, as an enrolled agent, eligible to practice before the IRS, I take a look at those requirements and then I say, is this cloud-based software compliant with what the IRS tells me I have to do to be able to keep my license and continue practicing? So I don't want to lose my license, right? So I'm going to do my homework. I'm going to do my homework and I'm going to take a look. And the IRS, you know, we take jabs at the IRS, but the reality is they make it very easy. There's a publication that tells you this is what you're required to do. And you take a look at that, you know, maybe it takes some time for you to study that and go through it, but it's worth it. And you take a look at that and then you take a look at what you're looking at and say, does this match up? Does it match up? And then ask your peers, have you been using this? Have you had any problems with it? Because I'm doing my research. It looks to be a match, but I'm interested in your experience. How long have you been doing it? Because we're at a point now where you've had individuals doing this a long time, a number of years, some a couple of decades at this point, to be quite honest with you, because cloud-based is, you know, just getting some mileage on it now. You can ask those questions and you can get honest feedback. And if you do hear some things that are alarming, then find out, okay, well, what's the workaround for that? Or what's the fix for that? Or how did you handle that? Or how did the person who was in that situation, how did they handle it? And you take the precautions that are needed to make sure that you keep your client's data safe. It can be done. It's been done for years now. But we have to be willing to take a look at it for our own practice if that's something that we're thinking about.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
So I'm going to take a right turn here. I was thinking about this morning, you know, again, working remote. And Alexi touched on this a little bit when she said, you know, sometimes the days will get away from you. You're in your home. and you're running your business. And so obviously the lines get a little bit blurred, right? Between work and personal life and things like that. I've always joked that I get ready for work every day. It's in my house, but I get ready. I shower, I put my clothes on, I put my makeup on, and I fully get ready for work.
We thank you for that, Carrie. Thank you for showering.
Thank you so much.
but it's right. Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. But it's the mentality of it. I am going to work. It's sort of like something that I know that I need to do. How do you find that you can really effectively be productive and yet have that balance between work and personal life in the same place?
That is an outstanding question, Carrie. And I'm going to be honest with you. Over the years, I've had to try to recalibrate and find my balance on that on a number of occasions. And there's a couple of different reasons for that. Number one, yeah, you're working remotely and you're working from home. And when you're at home, I mean, let's be honest, there's all kinds of things that could be going on. You got family, you got other things, the pool man wants to come over. I mean, there's all types of things that you can be doing, right? So that's one of the things that we talked about earlier, the discipline that's needed. But then the other part of that is, for many of us, and I would even venture to say most of us, if we're business owners, if we started a business, if we're working from home, it's probably because we're doing something that we love and enjoy. I know for myself, I love being an accountant. I know it's not everybody's cup of tea. Taxes is not everybody's. I get it. I know that it's not, people don't jump up in the morning and say, oh my goodness, I'm getting my tax results today. I can't wait. Probably not happening with most people. I get that. But I just love it. I love what I do. And when you love what you do, man, you can sit there 10 hours, 11 hours, 12 hours. You can be working on the weekend. It's very easy to do. Now, I've learned over the years through experience that I can't do that. So I try to have, I definitely have a schedule, a calendar that I have to keep. The calendar is huge. It really, really helps me out. And I'm fortunate enough right now where I have an assistant that helps me with my calendar. So now that helps me to feel a little bit of accountability, because if she puts something on my calendar and says, hey, you need to be here. Hey, you need to take care of this. I know if I don't get it done, she's going to come back and ask me about it. That helps me out tremendously. But I have a set time in the evening when I stop, and then I make sure that I stop. And that's the time that I'm able to unwind. That's time I'm able to spend with my wife. We can do a little date night if we want to do that. And she helps me with that too. And I try to help her with it because she loves what she does too. So we try to keep each other kind of, on the rails when it comes to that, if you know what I mean. But having those specific times to stop, and then making sure that we don't, for us anyway, we make sure that we protect our weekends. It's golden, and it really, really helps out.
That's great. So you've talked about all the positive things of being remote and the cloud and AI and all the technology. What is one challenge or a pitfall that you have overcome when you did this transition all the years ago, or that as technology changes so quickly, that's been a little bit harder that you can talk about?
Really, to be honest with you, what we just got done talking about, it's very easy to work the extra hours. That's been a pitfall for me. There have been other changes that have been made. So, for example, if you go 100% remote, it may affect how you take your payments. You might not be if you're taking cash. You might not be taking cash if you're doing remote, right? You might not be taking checks. That might be a change. For me, that was a positive change because I didn't want to take cash. I didn't want to have to deal with checks and hope that they cleared and all that other stuff. So going remote meant going to 100% credit card, at least in our firm. And we do some ACH, of course, as well. But the point is it's electronic. I guess that's ultimately what I'm getting to. But that was a positive change. But you're asking what are some negative things, or at least one negative thing. To me, it's just, because I love what I do, I can constantly be working, and I have to make sure that I bring it in. That's one thing. And then the other thing that I'll mention, and this is kind of a little broader, it can happen if you're working remote because you're able to handle so many different accounts that you otherwise wouldn't have been able to handle. But it's making sure that we don't take the stress of our clients on ourselves. Yeah, it's a big thing that I teach.
And you care about
to my staff. Yeah, we care about them. We do. We love them. We their situation matters to us. But an inherent danger in that is if I'm taking on their stress, and now I have a client over here and I'm taking on her stress, and then I have another client over here and I'm taking on their stress. what's happening to me internally?
Oh yeah.
What's happening to me internally? I mean, that happens in a day, maybe you recover, but if that you compound that over the years, and it can end up affecting your health. And so that's something that I'm mindful of. That's not necessarily something that is symptomatic only with remote work, but I think it's just work in general. But I think a person can more easily dive into that because they're able to handle all of these different accounts from all of these different areas. So I think that that's something to be cognizant of if you're working remote or if you're thinking about taking the plunge.
Yeah, that's great. It's smart.
I like it. Okay, so before we wrap, I just have one more question here. So, you've done this for 9 years, right? Remote. What's your best piece of advice if someone is even considering doing this for their firm? What would you, or even like, what would you tell yourself? But
Two pieces of advice. Number one, if you already have a firm and you're already working with individuals, don't try to transition everybody at one time. Go on ahead and take it in increments because you're going to have some clients that are they're not going to feel it. If they've been working with you for years and they're used to coming in, there's going to be some that are going to have a hard time making the transition. And you know what? Be okay with that. Look for individuals that are interested in moving over, transition those persons over. If you have new clients coming in, get them acclimated to doing the remote thing. But for the ones that aren't really ready to make that shift, unless you're ready to part with that relationship, and I don't necessarily think that that's something that you should just blanketly do. Going ahead and allow them to continue in the situation that they're in, at least as long as you're willing to cultivate that. If you don't have a firm and you're listening to this because you're thinking, you know what, I'm sitting at my corporate office right now and I'm looking for ideas on how I can get something going for myself. Come out of the gate remote. Set it up with that as your intention. Think of and do your homework. If you're concerned about security, take some continuing education on security. If you have other friends or colleagues that are doing it, ask them questions on how they do it. And then once you do that, set a date to make an actionable step. Because we can get in the habit of learning. Oh, that sounds good. Oh, that's a good point. Oh, I heard Hughes the other day. Oh man, I heard this person over here. That was really, really nice. And then we're talking and we're learning, but we never take a step. So pull that calendar out. Take a look at your year. Find out when you have some downtime based on whatever it is you're doing. And then put it on the calendar. I'm going to take at least one step by this date. And then do it. And then
that's such great advice.
Then do it again. And then do it again until you have what you're looking for.
It's less scary that way, right?
Absolutely.
Oh my gosh, Randy, thank you so much. This has been fantastic. So insightful for everyone listening and anyone, just like you just said, looking to potentially go remote and take that next step. So just really appreciate you today.
Yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate being on.
Yeah, this has been amazing. I agree. You've shown that you can not only have a tax practice, but you can actually succeed and do it remotely. I think this is going to be an inspiration for a lot of people who've been thinking about doing something like this, or even pondered, is it possible to be able to take it and work from anywhere? And so I love this. So thanks for sharing your stories.
Absolutely.
Well, that's it for today's Deduct This. If you guys want to learn more about Randy's journey, check out Counting Pennies LLC at cpennies.com. And stay tuned for our next episode. Until next time.
Thanks for being part of Deduct This, powered by ProConnect Tax. If today's conversation gave you something new to think about, visit accountants.intuit.com for more insights and resources made for professionals like you. We'll be right here, helping you turn expertise into opportunity.